Down in Florida these days, and you're up in this Cape Cod area. So we both have waterfront, but it's so different. And I often talk about in Florida, like when people say waterfront, well, we have Tampa Bay, we have Clearwater Beach, Sarasota Beach, we can have a beach, and we can also have rivers, we have lakes. So waterfront encompasses a lot of different things. So I was curious for you, I know you also have lakes, you have riverfront, beachfront. Can you talk a little bit about the differences when someone's asking for waterfront? What are some of the things that you should ask them as questions to make sure they get the right waterfront property?
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. This is Jennifer J. Hammond. I would like for you to meet Tia Lilly. She's the founder, which is the broker and owner of Property Cape Cod Real Estate. Yay! Welcome to the show, Tia.
Thank you, Jennifer. So excited to be here.
Well, I'm so excited to have you because, I'm in waterfront area as well. I'm down in Florida these days, and you're up in this Cape Cod area. So we both have waterfront, but it's so different. And I often talk about in Florida, like when people say waterfront, well, we have Tampa Bay, we have Clearwater Beach, Sarasota Beach, we can have a beach, and we can also have rivers, we have lakes. So waterfront encompasses a lot of different things. So I was curious for you, I know you also have lakes, you have riverfront, beachfront. Can you talk a little bit about the differences when someone's asking for waterfront? What are some of the things that you should ask them as questions to make sure they get the right waterfront property?
That is an excellent question. And Florida and Cape Cod coincide quite a bit. So we have a lot of, so we got the summer here and the winter in Florida. But you're right. It's the same questions because the waterfront is different. So there's 560 miles of coastline here on Cape Cod. You pick from, so when someone says to me, I'm looking for a waterfront home, there's so many there's rivers, there's direct ocean front, there's lakes, there's ponds, there's properties with docks, there's deep water docks. There's a huge difference between a dock and a deep water dock. So a lot of it is just getting to know, right? How are you going to use this home? What is important to you? And just diving deep with a lot of questions. That's why it's important to get somebody that's going to help you figure this out, because there's a lot to it, right?
And then what you mentioned this again, the one thing that I also find is people who understand waterfront, there's very different laws that govern. Neither one of us are lawyers. Let's be clear. I'm a licensed realtor.
Yeah.
You're a licensed realtor. But there are a lot of different laws, whether you're on a river, whether you're on a beach. Like down here, also, people say, oh, I want to be beachfront. But then they don't realize that the beach is actually public beach. So it's not like it's a private beach, or that you aren't going to have some people sunbathing right in what might be your view from your house to the property, or to the water line.
Right.
So understanding those kind of different things, including, and as you mentioned before, when you're asking for people like, so do you like kayaks? You might say that you want to have a boat, but boat seems like this big word, because does that mean you want a yacht, or you have a sailboat, or do you have a kayak?
Yeah. The depth, right? The water depth is very important depending on the water vessel that you choose, your choice. So, and you're right. The beach, somebody can say they want to be on a beach. So here on Cape Cod, some of them are private. So it's good to know that. And you're right. Some of them are public, and you can walk the beach. Everybody has the right to walk the low water mean, or the high water mean. So it's important to know what you're buying and what you're not buying, what you can do, what you can't do. Here on Cape Cod, we have 15 towns, and within each town, the villages all have their own set of rules, if you will.
Right.
So
Right.
You can be in the same town, one side to the other. It's completely different. So it's really important to know what you can and can't do.
And so we were just talking about buying, but let's also talk about the other side of it. As a seller of waterfront property, what are some of the things that someone should know when they're going to sell?
Well, selling a waterfront property is important, I think, and you probably would agree with me, is to have somebody familiar with waterfront because, right, in Florida,
Right.
you know the difference of the pricing from all the different water types, right? So
Right.
I see sometimes sellers come up and I go, "Oh, I wish they talked to me because we could have got them a lot more money for their house." And they had no idea almost how much the house was worth just with what it had. And it has actually happened with fellow associates. Like it's so important to know, and if you're a specialist, you're watching it all. Like I watch all the waterfront. So you know what I mean? It's that the values there. And then also getting it set up and drawing people to the house to create that hustle and bustle and desire for it. So
And I think one of the big things is educating people, helping them understand. Like if you want someone to see the value of your property, sometimes you have to educate them because they don't understand why is it more valuable to have, say, for instance, the private beach versus the public beach, or vice versa. What is it that is going to bring more value and predictably, perhaps more value in the future, right?
right. Right. It's all about building equity, right? And having and be buying and selling, like when you buy and then you eventually sell in that location that will gain you the most appreciation for your property as well. And it doesn't see it mind boggles me, and I'm sure you, but they have no idea what their property's worth sometimes. Like it's they could be on the waterfront with their private beach and that's rare, and they have no idea what their value is. And it's important to get to look at it and to get a couple different opinions so that and that's what we ask always. We just want the opportunity because look, if you can make more money and get it at the best terms, why not, right? You don't need to, they deserve to sell it for what it's worth.
For the
Top
right
dollar.
amount. And
Or
I
yeah.
think that again, there's so often when somebody brings it, when I go to see a listing and they actually will print out what they've seen online in different sites. And I'm like,
Right.
well, let's be we have to realize that some of these computer algorithms that are on these public real estate sites don't always have the correct estimation of value. And I mean, it can go both ways. I've seen it way undervalue, but I've also seen it way overvalue. And I'm like, okay, there's a reason that you have a real estate expert who comes in and talks to you about the nuances of your specific property. And then also what's happening in today's market. So with this, of course, we know this episode will last for a long time, but I'm just going to say we're in the fall of what year are we? 2023. What's happening as far as your real estate market now? Are you guys really busy? I mean, interest rates right now, for anyone who's not listening to this at this time, at the most current time,
Yeah.
are actually going up, or at least they're threatening to go up. And they're considered high, which of course I use my air quotes for that because it depends on your viewpoint. If you're somebody who paid a 12% interest rate, then you're like, wow, they're super inexpensive now. But if you're someone who got a 3% interest rate, you're thinking they're super expensive right now. So what's happening in your market right now?
We're seeing a shift here for sure. It's been coming for a while. It's gradual, but it is definitely a conundrum, and I'm sure other markets are experiencing it with the rates so high. I think a lot of sellers are unsure of what to do and thus not doing anything. And so
Yeah.
we're not seeing a lot of inventory because they either want to get something bigger or maybe downsize. They're not ready to let go of Cape Cod yet. But why are they going to go to a higher interest rate when they have a lower interest rate, whatever position it's in? So I think a lot of people are like just sitting right now, waiting.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I think interesting when there's a lot of change, it breeds a bit of uncertainty where people end up freezing. They decide not to make a
right.
decision one way or another. So, and
Mhm.
we're seeing that down here. I'm also licensed up in Washington, D.C. as well. And we're seeing that there
Yeah.
too. Although it seems to be a much busier market, I'd say, in DC at this moment. But again, it's neighborhood by neighborhood. As most things, real estate is very, very local to whatever's happening in that area. So one of the big takeaways I love is to share a specific story. So I know you have stories of real life real estate transactions that have had an obstacle and they required a true out of the box kind of solution. I feel like in real estate, that's one of the things we're doing is we're always creating a solution. And so often it has to be out of the box to make everybody agree to it. Can you share a story where you've had to use an out of the box solution?
Sure, sure. Yeah. And that's just, I love that out of the box because we're always problem solving, right? I mean, this
Yep.
is a big part of what we do is problem solve. So I was selling a home on the river. This is probably one of the bigger ones of problem solving. And they had built a stone wall, this huge, beautiful stone wall. It was on a river. So the septic was out front. And there was a component in the septic that would not pass, but it was so far down there and you had to go this tiered layer wall that was impossible. So brought out one of the top companies on Cape Cod. They said, look, we're going to have to take down this wall. We're going to have to then put this, we're looking to 50 to 100,000 for this component. So I reached to my sources and we got out I should say, got out the old tools, a shovel and dug 6 to 8 feet hole. And we got down there and we were able to replace this piping. And it cost my seller, all in all, $1,200 all in on something that he could have cost some 50 to 100,000. So that was just getting creative. I'm actually in this pit with them looking at this pipe. How are we going to get to it underneath? So yeah, so that was pretty creative. That was
Creative.
creative fix. He was thrilled. Yeah, it all turned out. I don't even think the people buying ever even knew. We put it right back to normal and it was fixed and it was all good.
And
Yes.
I think that is exactly that we have to think outside the box. And honestly, we have to be level headed because so often the emotions run so high that people end up,
Yes.
exaggerating the problem. And I get it because I've also, it's funny because I've bought a lot of investment properties. And I think the first time somebody insulted something, I had renovated something and I thought I had done a fantastic job.
Of course you
And
did.
I heard and the buyer insulted, and I happened because I was the agent for myself, which never
be the agent.
Never
be the
be your
agent.
own agent. It's like
Exactly.
such a stupid thing to do. And yet it's so funny because I was young enough. I was probably still in my 20s when I did it. And it was so funny because I remember I got so mad and I like, I didn't thank God. I stormed out of the room silently and didn't say anything, but I was really grumpy. And it was funny. It was the lawyer, the title lawyer who came to me and said, so Jennifer, there is a reason why we all suggest that you have a real estate agent represent you, even though he said, just like as a lawyer, what do we say about a lawyer who represents themselves in court? What about their client? They have a fool for a client. So we have to be that independent, calm, creative, out of the box thinker.
Right. It's so true.
Because it can get really sticky.
Yeah, well, it's a big deal when you're selling. It's a big deal. Emotions run high. It's a closing out a chapter in your life, ready for the new one. Sometimes it's exciting. Sometimes it's not, so it definitely, but yeah. Yeah.
There was
Good
one,
point,
I
though.
was going to say, I'll tell you one quick story.
Sure,
I
love it.
was pretty early in my career and I remember I wanted to buy, and again, it was early enough. I was still trying to represent myself because what happened is I had gone to show a property, which every so often, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but I'd gone to show a property and my client walked through and went, oh my gosh, this place is awful. And then I was like, oh, okay, I understand. And I let them go on their way. And then I came back because I was like, this place has potential. This is a great place. And for me, I could see the bones and I could see this place would just need a little, a little paint, little this, little that, and it would be fantastic. And so I came back and I went to buy it, and the seller ended up meeting the seller directly. He was there, and it was his mom's place, and she had died. And he said, I would be happy accepting less than the asking price. I was like, oh, where's your agent? You shouldn't be telling them that. And he goes, as long as I don't have to clean out any of her clothing.
Oh,
He had
yeah.
opened a drawer and found her delicates.
Yeah. I'm
And
actually dealing with that right now. It's very
Mm.
hard for them. It's very hard. Yeah. Yeah.
And it
What
was
did you
so
do?
I told him yes. I said absolutely, I'll take that
Yeah.
price. And I told him I'm the real estate agent, but I'm also the investor, and did all the
Yeah.
proper disclosures. And I took care of everything for him. I didn't make him clean out anything. And I told him, I'm going to donate as much as I can to the different charities that I couldn't possibly use in my life, but that I made sure that he knew that
Right.
all of her belongings would be really loved and taken care of. They're not all going to be thrown in a dumpster, and that he didn't have to worry about a thing. And to me, it also felt like, I would hope somebody would do that for me when, there's a death of somebody that I'm that close. And I
Right.
realized that, again, real estate's not like this straight arrow kind of
Oh.
thing. Um,
It's people, it's relationships, it's feelings. It's not houses is just this I'm always like we're in the people business, and as a result we
yeah,
sell houses, but it's really all about
exactly.
people. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you're really big, and I feel the same way about relationships. It's about having a relationship, and how can
Right.
I help you at whatever your transition is?
Right.
Sometimes it's you're
Right.
getting married, sometimes it's
Mhm.
you're getting a divorce,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a death.
And it
But
and it's and sometimes it comes after too. We're a lot after, we're there for you after the sale, not just during the sale and before the sale. I always encourage people to reach out to me, even
yeah,
if you're not sure. That helps you with your
yeah,
educational, right? And the decision
right.
process. So yeah,
So
it's
one of my last questions before we run out
sure.
of time is
Yeah.
about investment properties. So in your area, what are some of the best investment properties in Cape Cod these days?
Well, when you say investment properties, it depends. I would first ask you, how are you going to use the property? What is your
Right.
goal? And I think a lot of people should sit down and look at that before they just go out and buy. We see sometimes the residual of that. And it is good to take a minute or two or
Yeah.
5 or 10 and figure out how do you want to use it. So when you say investment, I think of anything on we think of like weekly vacations. We have a weekly vacation rental division as well. So that's probably where you get the best bang for the buck, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that's going to be driven anything on near water location. So but yes, so that's it. Just all depends on how it is, or is it, your family going to enjoy it and just enjoy the appreciation over the years. So you got to dive deep. But yes, I think of it as the weeklies, right? With the
And
best.
it's funny because in Florida, unlike DC, because DC wasn't like this, or is it even at this day and age, this publication of this,
Right.
we don't have quite the division. In Florida, we have literally, some cities are like no short-term rentals, and then others are like, yes, we can do short-term rentals, but the definition of short-term rental is at least a week. Or I have another area in this down here where the definition of short-term rental is 3 months. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that's short-term. And then,
Yeah.
of course, as you know, there are some that is a daily, which is like a hotel, like an Airbnb, that is literally a daily, not a weekly. And so you have to just, that I would agree with you, for investment properties, even in my area, we have a lot of similarities. We need to ask a lot of questions, including, do you want to use it? Is it just going to be so that you can make money on it? Is it something that you want to actually transition and live in someday? Is it something that, because you also need to know what the upcoming, I use my air quotes, the upcoming laws and regulations are. Are they talking about making it so that you can't use it for short term anymore, and all of that? So
Right. That's a big
that's,
topic on the table for I think almost everywhere, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, for sure. Well, we're just about out of time, so I want to make sure that
Okay.
people know how to get a hold of you.
Thank
So,
you.
website, anything you want to share?
Yes, yes, please. Property capecod.com. And there's also, you can go to our podcast menu on there. We have talk more about living on the water's edge. There's some free offers, and all our contact information is there. So that's propertycapecod.com.
Well, thank you so much. And I love your bubbly attitude. And I know
Oh,
you would be happy to have you're going to lift your voice with me and say yay as we go off the air. Is that okay?
It sure is.
Okay, good. 3, 2, 1. Yay! Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you.